Hello and welcome to the Sharp 600, brought to you by Covers.com and presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Happy holidays to everyone. I am your host, Jason Logan. Thanks for joining us here on a Thursday edition of the podcast as we navigate what is a weird and busy Week 17 slate. We got the two games on Christmas Day yesterday. We've got another one tonight. We get a few on Saturday. We get the regular Sundays and Mondays slate as well, too, along for the wild ride that is Week 17. His former odds maker, current professional bettor, one of the top sports betting analysts out there, Mr. Todd Furman. Todd, Merry Christmas to you. I trust Santa found his way to the Nevada desert.
You know, the reality of it is, J-Lo, I'm married into a family, so Christmas wasn't a big thing growing up in a Jewish household, so it's rare we get the Hanukkah-Christmas overlap last night.
Right.
But I have quickly realized the abundance of traditions that are out there, and when you go into an Italian household on Christmas night, there is plenty of food, so you better make sure you're bringing an appetite and you're packing a lunch pail for the healthy amount of leftovers you get to take home and eat for the next 7 to 10 days.
All right, so you ate at the dinner table. Let's eat here in Week 17. Before we get going, we do ask that whether you are listening or watching on the podcast, that you rate and review. Give us a little bit of time. Give us some feedback. We appreciate that. We're trying to make the podcast better here in 2025. And a reminder, too, now that we're heading towards 2025, this will be the last podcast of the 2024 season, Todd. So let's make it good. Let's get to Week 18, which is an entire bag of cats.
Do we force producer Dell to put together a whole best of episode, a little montage and everything else, a behind the scenes type of look at everything we've accomplished thus far?
That's right. Yeah, set to like Creed or something like that, right, Dell? He's not. Yeah, I'm looking at his face. He's not buying that one. All right. Well, he can give us 600 seconds on the clock. Let's go. All right, Todd, we're going to touch all four games before the Sunday slate. And let's start with tonight's still, actually. Seattle Seahawks at Chicago Bears. An interesting one because Seattle's still fighting for its postseason life, but it has to travel and comes to Chicago. And there's a lot that's going to play into that Rams game against Arizona. I think that's essentially going to be the make or break game for this. So let's look at Seattle and Chicago. Anything that you like about this game? I think Seattle a 4-point favorite on the road.
Yeah, we have to play a little bit of meteorologist in this particular spot. All signs point to the potential that we could see the always fan favorite wintry mix in the high 30s with some precipitation coming down. So if that does factor into the forecast, it's going to put a damper quite figuratively and literally on exactly what we can expect offensively from these two teams. But as you dig into this Seahawks team, J-Lo, this was a team that rattled off 4 wins in a row coming out of the bye. They stepped up in class against the Green Bay Packers and Minnesota Vikings and have been smacked back into place. Now this, at least on the surface, appears to be a much more manageable foe given the fact that the Bears have been downright dreadful and are limping towards the finish line. But I just can't get there laying the 4 with Seattle on the road with some of the questions I have about them defensively. So I'd be looking more at some of the player prop markets. And if the weather does hold off, I don't want to advocate for it right now, looking at trying to make a case for JSN to have a field day and continue the tear he's been on, and maybe even an anytime touchdown from DK Metcalf, knowing how porous the Bears have been against deep passing attacks. But as we sit here on a Thursday morning, can't quite get there yet because I want to make sure that Mother Nature complies. Would lean ever so slightly towards going over the total in this one as well at 42.
I looked at the weather just before we went on. Wind not going to be a factor in Chicago, which is that's the most disruptive thing. But a little mix of rain might be it. But that's what I saw. So maybe not as bad. And I'm in the same brain track here with you. I'm going to go Geno Smith longest completion over 35.5 yards, and he's not afraid to chuck it by any means. And you mentioned the Bears have a bad habit of giving up the home run plays, 53 plays of 20+, 9 of 40+. Chicago runs one of the higher rates of zone coverage out there, and we all know about the Geno Smith man versus zone splits, and his output is significantly higher and better when he faces zone scheme. So I think Geno's going to let it rip. I think we're going to see a big play from Lockett. There's a ton of weapons out there right now that can break off a big play against a Bears defense that I just don't think wants to be there right now. So I'm going to take his over 35.5 yards longest completion for Geno Smith. We get a trio of a game on Saturdays. All three of them are going to hold weight in the playoff picture. Chargers are out east. That's where we'll start. They're on the road, laying points, trying to stay in that playoff spot or at least improve their playoff spot. They could slide into the number 5 seed if we see the Steelers start to keep sliding as well, too. What do you like in this one, Chargers and Patriots?
Weird game. When you look at the Patriots, you have to give them a world of credit. Fought valiantly last week as a 14-point underdog on the road against the Bills, but they mustered 14 points early in that game and weren't really able to get anything going until garbage time late, comfortably sliding inside that number. The Chargers, off that de facto mini-bye, they had a battle back tooth and nail to erase a double-digit deficit against the Denver Broncos. And the one thing when you look at this Chargers team from top to bottom, their defense was drawing all sorts of rave reviews and headlines early in the year, but a lot of that was attributed to a softer schedule. But now they step down in class, and you begin to wonder if this defense can flourish in this particular spot. So I was hoping the total would start to leak up a little bit to make a compelling case to go under, but I think the first half total still offers a little bit of upside. If I was going to tangle in this game, I'd be looking to go under in the first half. I think the Chargers will be a little bit more conservative trying to run the football. And while I don't love anything that New England is doing defensively, and I have the utmost respect for the way Drake May has performed during his rookie season, I think New England's going to struggle to move the football consistently and could see Drake May's legs playing a role in this game as well.
All right. I took New England plus 5.5. I did my underdogs column on Monday because of the Christmas holiday. It's down to as low as 4 right now, but there are some 4.5s out there. And I would say if you do like the Pats, go get the 4.5. Stay ahead of that undervalued key number of 4. But they're just playing so much better with Drake May. 5-3 ATS in the last 8 games. And a really funny quirk here. They play back-to-back road games. They get to come home for this one. Obviously have the early East Coast cold weather edge over the Chargers. But this is a team this is going to be their 4th home game since week 6. They have not played at home at all. And then if you look at their home games, I think 5 of their 6 home games have been decided by 5 or less. So I like the Pats and the points in this one. As long as you get the plus 4.5, and you can go find that. It is out there right now. And you mentioned that Chargers defense, not looking good. Denver at Cincinnati, this seems to be the linchpin in the whole AFC playoff picture right now. And then Cincinnati still alive, but you're going to have to do some grade 12 math to figure out how they get into it. Todd, what do you like in this one? Broncos and Bengals.
Unfortunately for the Bengals, they're also going to have to be big fans of the Wentz wagon, most likely next weekend, even if they're able to get a win against the Denver Broncos. But this is a game where I think we're going to see points. Denver's defense has taken on water and raises some real red flags for me. We know the Bengals defense has been their Achilles heel all season, and I know what the scoreboard said last weekend against the Browns, but it wasn't nearly that glamorous a performance. Total's coming down a touch, and I think anything at 49 or better have no problems going over. I think we see points aplenty from these two talented quarterbacks.
Yeah, I took the over on this one, and I also took plus 3.5 with the Broncos. I just don't get why the Bengals keep getting priced as a good football team. They are not a good football team. You look at the Broncos right now, they could be one of the better two-way football teams right now, really looking good on offense over the recent weeks. So plus 3.5 with Denver is still out there. Going to Cardinals and Rams to wrap it up. What do you like in this one?
Real quick for me, I'm going to go under the total here. I know people look at these two teams based on name, and they figure, we're going to see plenty of points. But the Rams have a little bit of revenge. Their defense was embarrassed. And the treat that they have waiting for them is that the Arizona Cardinals offensive line is extremely banged up, down both of their starting tackles. And I think Verse and Fisk can feast in this spot. I'll go under the total. I think Arizona struggles to score, and the Rams know they have bigger fish to fry.
I'm going to go Trey McBride over 60.5 yards receiving in this one. He's kind of been that constant producer for them. You mentioned the problems on the offensive line, also dinged up in the rushing game, so that he's going to have to find someone and find him quick. And I think that's going to be McBride. Projections very positive. As high as 71 yards. We look at the Rams right now. They are giving up a lot of yardage to tight ends. So he's out there, game script says he's going to have to throw it. It's a bigger spread. Kyler Murray's going to be under pressure. He had a pretty good game against the Rams there back in week 2 as well, too. 69 yards on 6 receptions. So I do like Trey McBride to go over 60.5 yards. Maybe he gets that touchdown. Maybe we see that touchdown drought.
He finally gets that touchdown.
You know what?
Now.
He's
the
not
Cardinals have been eliminated. They got to try and feed the horse.
I looked at the price. It was like plus 160 or something like that. And I was it's just a little too short for someone that has not scored in a long, long, long time. All right, time for some touchdown anytime. That's week 17. Todd, tee us off here, pal.
Look, J-Lo, this is where we dig deep. We go into that player arsenal, and we're not going to highlight the favorites here. And I'm going to take David Moore of the Carolina Panthers, who has 8 red zone targets going back to week 10. 4 catches during that window, matched up against a Buccaneers secondary that without Antoine Winfield leaves an awful lot to be desired. I know Bryce Young popped up with a little bit of a hamstring injury, but even if it's Andy Dalton, no concerns here. David Moore to price less than 4-1, right in the window. I think he becomes the ultimate value proposition for the Panthers.
Yeah, and he looked good last week, too. I'm going to go a little more obscure too here. Amir Abdullah plus 275. He's going to be behind Madison on the running back pecking order, but his pass catching skills has really kind of seen him get some reps in this Scott Turner offense. He has been targeted a lot the last 2 games, and he scored a rushing touchdown and he scored a receiving touchdown. And they've taken on the Saints defense that's terrible against the run. Just played 37 minutes against Green Bay on a short week. And allowed all 3 running backs for the Green Bay Packers to score. So I like Amir Abdullah plus 275. 2-minute drill time and our best bets for week 17. I'm going to go first here. I'm going to go Joe Burrow over a half an interception. He's going to throw one, minus 110. The Bengals pass, that's no big secret. And Denver shutting the door on the ground. They're going to have to throw into the teeth of what is becoming a dangerous pass defense. Potential of rain adding a little chaos in there as well, too. The Broncos have 15 interceptions on the season. 8 of those have come in the last 4 games. Denver primarily runs man-to-man coverage, and we've seen Burrow be pretty good against just about everything. However, he does struggle against man. So I see him. He's going to be throwing a lot. I think the math just adds up. He's going to throw an interception on Saturday.
So, J-Lo, you made a case for Amir Abdullah being an anytime touchdown scorer, and I'm perfectly fine with him finding pay dirt as long as it's only once, because I'm going to be backing the New Orleans Saints in arguably the ugliest game that we are going to see in Week 17. I look at this Saints team. You mentioned the short week coming home, but they were embarrassed by the Green Bay Packers, getting shut out, the only team in the league to have that dubious distinction. But Spencer Rattler finally gets a chance to step down in class. And you look at the opposing defenses he's faced this year, it's been the Bucs, the Broncos, the Chargers, the Commanders, and the Packers. This Raiders team is bottom of the barrel. I'll take the home underdog Saints.
That is an ugly bet. Hang on tight there, buddy. I'm going to go Rams, minus 6.5. It's minus 112 out there. You've made mention of Sean McVay delivering in December. Yeah, absolutely. 21-13 straight up and 20-13-1 ATS from week 14 to the final game of the season. Takes on this Cards team that just looks dead. A lot of injuries there as well, too. And when you make the Rams a home team in that window, 10-5-1 ATS. I don't know how they don't win and cover easy in this one. Minus 6.5.
Well, if I was going to go from one end of the spectrum with the ugly duckling, we'll go to the beauty pageant in the NFC North between the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. And normally I'm reluctant to back a team that has been an ATS juggernaut like Green Bay has been. But you talk about delivering in December. 2 coaches you want to back during this month, Sean McVay being one and Matt LaFleur being another. And LaFleur is even better with his teams in revenge mode. You dig into some of those numbers. 27-11 straight up in these spots, but more impressively, 25-13 against the number. I'll take the more well-rounded Packers to get the win on the road.
Nice. I also took them. I took them plus 1.5 in my underdogs column. That line has since jumped the fence. So, but nothing
Still some pick 'em out there right now. I'm right
there
with
absolutely.
You. Took plus 1 for the majority of my position.
Yeah. I mean, plus 1.5 to minus 1 to pick them. We're pretty much talking about the same thing here for the most part. All right, Todd. Good stuff. That is it for this episode of the Sharp 600. A big thanks to producer Dell behind the scenes. We're waiting for that best of cut very, very soon, Dell. Big thanks to Todd. A big thanks to FanDuel Sportsbooks, and of course, a big thank you to you for tuning in each week. A reminder: rate, review, like, subscribe, do all those things. Give us a minute. Give us that feedback. We appreciate that. Todd, any last words of wisdom here for Week 17, or even words of wisdom, or put a cap on 2024?
You know, a couple of things. I'll give you a shout out. I'm not sure if it was widely circulated, but you do deserve credit. You had anytime touchdown scores, not once but twice, in the tandem of games on Christmas Day with Lamar Jackson and Travis Kelce. So that gets you the golf clap. Here and there. I'm just thrilled we were able to pull you away from World Junior coverage on Boxing Day in Canada to talk a little NFL. So, again, kudos for being a man of the people and making sure that we record the Sharp 600. But the one bit of advice I'll give folks for Week 17, make sure you're paying attention to all of that coach speak going up for those Week 18 numbers. Mm-hmm. This is a market that's going to move as fast, if not faster, than the preseason. Try and read the tea leaves of who may or may not be available, and there's nothing wrong with trying to back a position with the mindset that that number won't be available and being able to sell it closer to kickoff. It is one of the more tumultuous weeks, and I think we're going to be in for plenty of player personnel surprises as it pertains to teams that know their playoff standing going into the regular season finale.
All right, good stuff. We will be back. We're going to do next Thursday, which is January 2nd. Give you a chance to sleep it off. And then we will be...
that's for you, producer Dell. Chance to sleep it off.
Young Bucks. And then, we'll dive into that crazy, crazy Week 18 slate. So best of luck with your bets this weekend, and Happy New Year. Hey, NFL fans, you can make every moment more this season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Never waste a hunch at FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 plus and present in select states or 18 plus and present in DC. First online real money wager, only $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets will expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.